Hello everybody and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be showing you how to make it so that your maps will reset for your minigame. So on almost any single minigame you'll play, so ones where you break blocks or you place blocks or you otherwise modify the map in any single way, say for example Sky Wars or Bed Wars, in all of these games you need some code that's going to essentially reset the map back to its base. So if I play a game of Bed Wars on a server, and I absolutely destroy the map or I build stuff or whatever it is, the people who play the game after me shouldn't then be able to see that. They should have a fresh game, and that's what we're going to code today. So what you're going to have to do is create yourself a little template arena. Now previously what we've been doing in this section is we have our arena, oh actually we had two arenas, in the same world as the lobby. Now that's fine because we were just really coding the mechanics at that point and it's nice and easy. Now the only thing is, as I mentioned throughout the section, is that when you go to move this into production, of course, that's probably not how it would look. You would have the map in a separate place. And now that's an even more important requirement in this video. And you'll understand why when I explain how we're going to do this arena resetting. So basically, if you look at my server, what we're going to have is that the world folder is just going to represent the lobby as normal. And that's because that world always loads on startup. And so that lobby can just sit there and work as the lobby. But you'll see we've now also got an arena template folder. Now the way we're going to do this, and this is the way that most minigame systems I've seen do it, is we're going to create a world based off this template and load it when the game starts. And when the game finishes, just delete that world and copy and paste the template again. So essentially this arena template here is a single source of truth. That's never going to get modified, it's never going to get loaded. We're just using it to copy and paste over into an actual world which we do load and we do let the players destroy with the knowledge that it's not going to exist beyond this game. So this arena template that I've got is exactly this, which I've made here, and I've also attached it alongside the source code just in case that might be helpful to you. And of course don't forget our minigame is where whoever breaks 20 blocks the fastest can win. So it's super easy to do, which means that of course this big area here, by nature of the game, is going to get destroyed. And so what we'll make it do is, when you play a second game, it'll be nice and refilled again, back to normal. And then of course this logic is applicable to every single minigame. Alright, so let's head to the code and we will start making this system. So firstly, if I go to my config.yml in the resources folder, which is of course our template config, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and remove the second arena because we only have one in this instance, and I'll change my world to arena-template. Okay, awesome. So we're going to put the templates under the worlds here. Now this is fine, this is scalable. If you want to have a different type of world, then you just do arena template 2 or whatever in your second one. And now I'm just going to very briefly set the spawn point of my new arena, because of course we are actually changing arena here. So I happen to know what mine is. If you're using the same map as me, then you can go ahead and copy this. If not, just pause the video and go and pop your own figures in. So there we go. That's my world, my template world, and the spawn point. Okay, brilliant. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and create another manager. Now this one's going to be called World Manager. It's going to be an object. And this one is going to control, as you can imagine, all of the world functionality. So it's kind of taken the beefy, heavy logic outside of the game, which really, should be streamlined. And we're just going to make a util function, which is out of the way. And that's a really nice way to structure it. So we'll create ourselves a world manager object. And I'm going to go ahead and create a function to reset an arena. So function reset arena. And we're going to take in the template name. And we're going to return a world which could be null. And I'll go ahead and explain what's going on here. So as I say, we want to achieve a couple things in this function. The very first thing we want to do is, if an arena already exists, based off that template, then we unload that world and delete it. So that's the start of resetting this. And of course this reset function will run at the end of every game. The next thing we want to do is copy the template and call it something else. And then the final thing we want to do is load that world. And you can see how this just becomes circular, because the last thing we're going to do is load that world, and then the first thing we do is delete the world. So this is a full reset system, from deleting the old one to creating the new one. So this is going to be a fairly chunky function, so let's just get started. So the first thing we're going to do is get the template world folder from the name. So we're going to use a file class, which is just built in, and it just represents a file. Now that file doesn't have to exist. Now in our case we know it does exist, but it doesn't have to. So we'll import file, make sure it's the java.io one, and then 2 parameters here. We're going to use bucket.getWorldContainer, which literally just returns the root folder, because of course that is the container for the worlds. Okay, and then we need the name of the world, which we know is arena-template, which we have here, template name, because we'll pass that through from the config, so we can do template name, just like that. Okay, awesome. So now we have a file, and I should just explain, we've touched on this throughout the course several times, but just for the avoidance of doubt, file also does include a folder. So a file can be either a file or a folder. Now I realize this is terribly misleading, but unfortunately we're not going to win that argument. So a file, in this case, actually represents this arena template folder, and that's why we've called it template world. Okay, so next thing we'll do is, we know our template is called arena-template, so what do we want to call our actual world that we're going to load? I like the idea of just removing the suffix of -template. It keeps it clean, and it means that also it's scalable. You can have arenas with different names, and it'll just remove the suffix. So what I'll do is val arena name. So this is going to be the live one that we're going to create. Now we're just creating a string at this point, so don't worry, we're not doing anything fancy. So we'll do template name dot remove suffix, and that just removes the suffix, which is the ending part of what we specify, which in this case we know is -template, and that's why it's important to keep that -template structure. Okay, brilliant. So now let's go ahead and get a file representation of that folder. So we'll do val arena world equals file bucket get world container, and then arena name, just like that. Okay, excellent. So we've got a few variables here that we're going to be using throughout this function. So we have file representations of both the template world, which is this one, and the arena world, which doesn't yet exist, but it will. And we also have the arena name in string form, because we're going to use that a couple times in this function. Okay, so first things first, as I said, let's go ahead and make it so that if there is already an existing arena, we have to delete it. And the reason for that is, of course, because A, if this reset arena function is running, then of course that's what the expected functionality is. We need to actually reset the arena, aka delete the old arena. And B, at the end of this function, we're going to create a new arena by the same name, and of course you can't have 2 world folders with the same name. So let's just go ahead and delete the old one if it exists. So we'll do bucket.getWorld arena name. Now this could be null because it might not exist, and that's alright. Say it's maybe the first run, and that's alright. So we'll do .let. So make sure to use the question mark, and it's going to say run the code in this block if the world isn't null. In which case, we're going to firstly loop through all of the loaded chunks, and for each of them, we're going to run it.unload false. Now, I'll be candid here. I think some people would probably tell you that isn't required, and to be honest, it isn't. But when I was, of course, preparing for this video, as I always do, and I was just using bucket.unload world, which is what we're going to use now, so let's go ahead and write it. Unload world, and then false. The false just means save it. We don't want to save it. So when I was preparing for this video and I was just using this, I was getting errors from paper in the console saying that the loaded chunks were stopping this from unloading. So I found that when I added this code, it worked fine. So it can't hurt. Just go ahead and add it, and you should have less issues. But anyway, so now this, if the previous arena exists by the name of arena, then we'll unload it. And now we're going to go ahead and delete it. So we'll do if arena world, so this now represents the file representation, so the folder in this case, not the actual bucket world. So if the arena world folder exists, then now let's delete the directory. So we're unloading it with bucket, and of course we have to do that first because that's a safe thing to do. And then we'll delete it with Kotlin. So we'll do file utils.delete directory arena world. Okay, awesome. So we're almost there. So we've unloaded the previous world, we've deleted the previous world. Now let's go ahead and copy the new world and then load the new world. Super simple. So we'll do file utils. Now, don't worry, this isn't an external library. Oh, well, it is, but it's a library that's bundled with paper. So there's absolutely no issues using this. Paper uses, so we're going to use it too. So file utils, and make sure you've got the Apache one, and then it's going to be the copy directory. So let's have a think what we want to copy here. If you have a little thing in your head, hopefully you come to the conclusion that we want to copy the template world folder, and then we want to paste it to the arena world folder. Just like that. So that will essentially copy it from arena-template folder to just arena. And then what we can do is just go ahead and load the world, but there's nothing else to do after this, and we're returning world, so why don't we just load the world in the return function. So we'll do return bucket.create world. Now, this is a disclaimer that I have to say every time we use this function, and it kills me that I have to say it. Create world, what it actually does is it loads the world if it exists, else it creates it. So because it will exist, because we've just copied the data there, then it will load it. It won't create a brand new world from fresh. So what we do is create a new instance of world creator, and then we just pop in the name, which we know is arena name, just like that. And there you go, there is our reset arena function. Unload the old world, delete the old world, copy from the template, and load the new world. Super easy, and that's it for the world manager. Okay, so let's go ahead and, well, we've made some adjustments in the config.yml, and you know what that means. Throughout this section, when we do that, we always then have to go to the arena manager and make a couple of adjustments. Now, it's a very simple one in this case, where we pass through this world from this data here. Of course, we need to actually generate the new world now. So what we can do is, instead of that line there, we'll do world manager.reset arena. And then we'll go ahead and copy the template name, which we know is there, and then we can not null it because I'd quite like an error if that fails. And then there we go, just like that. And that's why we made it, you know, return world and so on. It's just so we can integrate it super nicely into our existing code. Okay, so now that we know the arena is going to create itself on startup, so of course the next job is to make it so that the arena does what we intend it to do, is to reset itself when the game ends. So we'll head to the arena class where we have our famous reset function in here. And what we'll do is we'll do it inside the if kick players, because we know that on kick players the game is ending, or essentially everybody is getting kicked out of the world for one reason or another. And in that case we want to go ahead and reset. But there's one quick thing I want to do before I do that. I want to actually, interestingly, add a game state. So where we have recruiting, countdown, and live, I'm going to add another game state. If I can get there. My IntelliJ is being weird. We're going to add a game state called loading. Now the reason for this is because actually loading the world can take, I mean, you know yourself, when you start a server, even when it's not actually creating the world, it can take a few seconds to actually load it, depending on how big your world is. Now, of course, in that instance, you cannot have a player in a world when it's currently deleting and loading a new one. That would be a complete mess, and it would cause great issues for both the server and the client. So what we're going to do, of course, now that's not a problem. We know the player's not there because we're going to have kicked them out first. However, we need that loading state to be able to determine whether players can join or not during that couple second interval. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and do state here equals GameState.loading. And then I'm going to move this kick players function down right to the bottom because I want it to be the last thing that's done in this function. And we know that it goes back to recruiting here, so we know that loading is only going to last for however long this code takes here, which previously would have been milliseconds before we're going to add this world stuff, which now it could be seconds, it could still be milliseconds, just depends on how big the world is. But what we're going to do now is go ahead and run the reset arena function, and then after that we'll go to the command and make it so that you can't join in the loading phase. So super easy for the reset arena function. We're going to do world manager reset arena, and then we'll do spawn .world. Now of course the spawn up here exists, we know it does, so we're going to get the world from that, and then we'll get the name, and this represents the current active arena. And what we're going to do is append template. And the reason we're doing that is because we know that this world exists because of the reset arena function, which simply removes the template suffix. So we can just add it back in this case. Okay, so that's going to reset the arena as we intend, except there's one other thing we're going to have to do, otherwise this whole thing won't work. It's super simple though. What we're going to do is, if this doesn't return a null world, which it shouldn't do, then we'll do .let, and I'm going to do spawn.world equals it, of course representing the world that was returned here. And that's super important because if we unload and delete a world that's referenced in a location, which spawn is, then when you try to teleport to that location, which obviously when the game starts, that's what we do with players, it's going to be an absolute mess and it probably won't work and you'll probably end up in the void somewhere. So we just need to set it to the new instance of the new world. But anyhow, that is the reset function, super simple. And then the very final thing we're going to have to do, because we added this loading state, is we'll head to the arena command. And in the join section, just after checking if it's live, we'll just go ahead and do if arena.state equals gamestate.loading, then sender.send message. Of course, you can write a nice fancy message here if you'd like. You can't join the game just yet. You can give them the full reason for that if you'd like, say the world's not working, whatever you want. But anyhow, now they can't join the game when it's in the loading phase. They can only join the game when there is a valid loaded world, which is exactly what we want. Okay guys, I think that's all that we need to do for this video, so I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, and I shall see you guys in a second. Alright, so my two accounts are here, and in this video we're not actually going to be using those nice arenas that we made over there. Hopefully this should teleport us into our new world. So if I do arena join 0 and arena join 0, there we go. We're in our brand new world, which is great. So let's talk about what we're expecting to happen here. Essentially, this game is the first person to break 20 blocks, and so I'm expecting that when I break all these 20 blocks, it should be the case that they will reset on the second game we play. As you can see, I'm buying for time because this is quite a long countdown. Okay, let's give this a go. So I'm only playing on one account here, it's just a quick test of the map resetting. So I'll break this, and also just for fun, I'll just break parts of the map. You wouldn't be able to do this if you had proper protection, but just for fun. So anyway, so there we go. That's the end of a game, which is perfect. So let's go and look in the console and see what happened. You can see the preparing start region. That means that the world has been, or it's attempted to reload, and let's go ahead and have a look if it actually worked. Arena join 0. There we go. And you can see everything is exactly as it was before that game was played, which is exactly what we set out to achieve at the beginning of this video. So now you have a fully self-sustaining minigame system where players can absolutely obliterate the map in any way that you want, and you can start a fresh game like nobody was ever there. And this is essentially the basis for so many popular minigames that you play nowadays. So that's all. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you need any assistance, I know it's a bit of a tricky topic, please do get in touch with the Discord, and we'd be happy to help. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.